Good afternoon, ladies. I am Turner Reynolds. I am here to talk to you all today about the National Panhellenic Conference. As you can see, I'm wearing my Panhellenic t-shirt. So, the National Panhellenic Conference, what even is it? Why do we have to attend one Panhellenic Council meeting a semester? What even is the Panhellenic Council, and why exactly is it so important? These are all questions that I, as a past Panhellenic delegate for Alpha Omicron Pi, hear all of the time. I've heard them before, and I'm used to still hearing them. As a part of the National Panhellenic Conference, also known as NPC, regulations, I'm here today to tell you a little bit about why exactly the NPC and Panhellenic Council are important to each and every sorority woman on each and every college campus. Today we're going to dig just a little bit deeper into why exactly the National Panhellenic Conference is important, how exactly it works, what it is, how the National Panhellenic Council on Western Kentucky University's campus works and what it is, and why this is important to all of us as collegiate sorority women. So just a little bit about the National Panhellenic Conference. Who exactly is in the National Panhellenic Conference? The National Panhellenic Conference is made up of all the sororities that I have listed here below. These that are in red: Alpha Delta Pi, Alpha Gamma Delta, Alpha Omicron Pi, Alpha Z Delta, Chi Omega, Delta Zeta, Kappa Delta, Phi Mu, and Sigma Kappa are all the National Panhellenic Conference sororities that we host here on Western Kentucky University campus. The National Panhellenic Conference was established in 1902 and consists of 26 sororities. Some of these are on each and every college campus, and some of these are scattered throughout the international waters, including the United States and Canada. There might be a few overseas, but mostly in the United States and Canada. The goal of the National Panhellenic Conference is to assist chapters of those organizations that we had listed below here to foster interfraternal relationships within the colleges and universities that they exist on. The vision of the National Panhellenic Conference is advancing the sorority experience together. I know that's inspiring, right? It makes us all just really want to go out there and bond sororities. And they pride themselves on the values of transparency, accountability, and mutual respect, combined with friendship, leadership, service, knowledge, integrity, and community. These are very important qualities in any organization, but especially an organization that is responsible for bonding so many women and so many different organizations that contain many different qualities. If they can be held under this umbrella of qualities of transparency, accountability, mutual respect, all those qualities, it just helps to create and foster a better sisterhood. In 1891, 6 sororities gathered in Boston, Massachusetts to discuss recruitment methods, and the delegates from each sorority became quick friends. So they started to think, hey, this might be a good idea. Maybe we should do this in the future. In 1902, they met again, as they had vowed to do in 1891, gathering more delegates from different sororities rather than just the first original 6. And thus, the National Panhellenic Conference began. The idea behind the National Panhellenic Conference was to design a model that collegiate chapters could follow so that each and every sorority would be similar enough that they could all collaborate within their universities. So since they are all under the same umbrella of sororities, all under the same umbrella of Greek life, they all need to be similar enough that they can be treated as if they are under the same umbrella. But the National Panhellenic Conference does a great job of preserving the integrity and the originality of each and every sorority so that each sorority and each Greek chapter presents to women a different idea for life and a different way of fulfillment. They also established a set of standards to regulate the way recruitment was conducted to make it fair yet still competitive. Recruitment is one of the main facets of sorority life, and as many of you probably see and as many of you know, all the clapping and the chanting and all the work we put in for recruitment, all of that and the rules and regulations set with that are set by the National Panhellenic Conference to ensure that each and every person has a fair chance at getting into a sorority, and each sorority has a fair chance at recruiting the very best members. So now for a little bit more about the National Panhellenic Conference and what they do. A lot of people probably don't know this, but the National Panhellenic Conference represents more than 4 million women, both collegiate and alumni. So they represent not only the chapters on college campuses, but they represent the alumni groups of women across the country who have graduated from their sorority experience but still want to relive it. Collegiate Panhellenics contribute more than $7.5 million and 1 million hours to charities and service each year. So although most people don't know this about the National Panhellenic Conference, but the National Panhellenic Conference partners with various Research One institutions, which is a huge deal, to conduct studies and research in support with fraternity and sorority life. So this is one of their most recent studies. You can see a graph about it on the screen below. Their most recent study yielded results that greatly support the establishment and support of fraternity and sorority life at colleges and universities. So these statistics that were found in the research include the first to second year retention rate for collegiate members of sororities is higher than that for non-members, sitting at 93%. It's actually 92.5%, but we like to round up. So the number of non-members that were retained in this particular year was only 81.8%. So this is from freshman to sophomore year, only 81.8% of women that were not in sororities were retained. However, there were a 93% of sorority members that were retained. So this shows us that being in a sorority is actually very beneficial. And so it's very important that the National Panhellenic Conference conducts studies like this in order to keep universities and colleges wanting to invite sorority and Greek life onto their campus and wanting to foster a good Greek support system, because as you can see below, that's going to give them money and that's going to give them fantastic statistics. So although the rules and regulations of the National Panhellenic Conference can be quite tedious and annoying at times, the goal of it is to advocate for its members and help them coexist within the colleges and universities that they are a part of, which is very valuable to any sorority women. So now I'm going to tell you just a little bit more about the National Panhellenic Conference on Western Kentucky University's campus. So it's actually called the Panhellenic Council here, and each sorority does it a little bit, or each university or college does it a little bit differently. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we move further on into the presentation. But for right now, I'm just going to focus on Western because that's where you all are today. The Panhellenic Council here at Western Kentucky University is the governing body of the 9 National Panhellenic Conference sororities on this campus. So as I showed you before, those were the ones that were highlighted in red on the slide. The Panhellenic Council also governs the local sorority, I was making sure my right slide was on there, also governs the local sorority Sigma Alpha, which is known as the agricultural sorority, and the service sorority Omega Phi Alpha, which is a service-oriented sorority. It's actually national, but it's not under the National Panhellenic Conference, but the Panhellenic Council here at Western Kentucky University takes them under their wings to regulate them as well. So even though they are not National Panhellenic Council sororities, we take good care of them because that's what a sisterhood and a good Panhellenic life on a university is a part of. The Western Kentucky University website explains that the goal of the Panhellenic Council is to create an environment of unity and fairness. So you see that going back to the National Panhellenic Conference and what exactly they were saying. They hold weekly meetings where each sorority sends a delegate. So as I said before, I was Alpha Omicron Pi's delegate, and that's actually why I'm so well versed in how exactly all of this works. So at these meetings, the Panhellenic Council keeps tabs on events on the campus and creates bylaws that govern the sororities on campus. So these bylaws often pertain to recruitment, how exactly sorority women are expected to act, how exactly officers are chosen, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Panhellenic values lie in the basis of every sorority on Western Kentucky University's campus. Each sorority is required to have a sister sorority every year, or every semester actually. You get it at the beginning of the semester, and the goal of a sister sorority is to have some sort of event with them so that then you're meeting other people outside of your own sorority, and we're fostering good Panhellenic relations, which goes into a lot of awards and various other things that different sororities can win on their national level. So we actually just recently had one Alpha Omicron Pi and Alpha Gamma Delta had a cookie decorating night, which was super cute and super awesome, and it was a great opportunity to meet girls from other sororities. And so this helps foster friendships that can be important outside of just sorority life, so that you're fostering relationships and making friendships that will help you in your future and can help you get through a really tough time. The Panhellenic Council is headed by an advisor of Greek affairs, which falls under the umbrella of the Office of Student Affairs. That's headed by Charlie Pride, but the advisor of Greek affairs is actually Andrew Rash. His sole job is to fight for and help the sororities on campus while also regulating them, but we like to focus on the advocacy part of all of it. This gives Panhellenic women an advocate and someone to truly be on their side. So for a little bit of an example, a few weeks ago, a member of Alpha Omicron Pi's father passed away, and it was a few weeks before finals, right when everything gets really tough, really awful. And so obviously this added stress was a lot for her. She had to go home and take care of things. And so Andrew Rash, the advisor of Greek affairs here on campus, actually emailed her teachers to let them know what was going on and kind of let them know, like, to give her a little leniency. She might be late in class, she might not be in class, just so that that was one less thing that she had to worry about in her time of need. This is the kind of advocacy that women in college need, and this is the kind of advocacy that the Panhellenic Council and all those who work with it provide. Officers of the Panhellenic Council are selected on a basis of interview and votes by the delegates of each sorority. So to maintain fairness, at Western Kentucky University, only 2 members of each sorority can hold a Panhellenic office. However, on various universities' campuses, you might see this a little differently. For example, at the University of Kentucky, the Panhellenic president is rotated every year. So there's a Panhellenic president and then there's a president in training. So the Panhellenic president might be from Kappa Alpha Theta, which is a sorority at the University of Kentucky, and the Panhellenic president in training might be from Alpha Delta Pi, and then it rotates every 13 or so years through all the sororities, just to make sure that the person creating those rules and the person leading all of the bodies on the University of Kentucky's campus, to make sure it's selected fairly. The Panhellenic Council of Western Kentucky University also has their own philanthropy that is taken from the National Panhellenic Conference's philanthropy. This is the Circle of Sisterhood, and it raises money to build schools for women who would not have access to them otherwise. So there's just a lot of different opportunities within Western Kentucky University's Panhellenic Council to get involved, to meet other women, and that's the idea of it all, to foster a better life on campus, to make sure there's not any animosity between sororities as you often see in the over-dramatized Hollywood movies. So why exactly should you care? Why is this important to me? Because, you know, I wondered the same thing. I say all of this because the National Panhellenic Conference is vital to Greek life on college campuses across the nation. Understanding how it works and why we will need it to help us will help us to have better Panhellenic relations and help us to foster those. The Panhellenic Conference works as an advocate for all member sororities. In December of 2018, Harvard College created a new policy banning all single-sex organizations from the campus. The National Panhellenic Conference backed up and supported the organizations that were affected by this new law. With the backing up of the National Panhellenic Conference, Alpha Phi, Delta Gamma, Kappa Alpha Theta, and Kappa Kappa Gamma filed both a state and federal suit against Harvard College for violation of Title IX and constitutional rights. The chairman of the National Panhellenic Conference, actually, Carol Jones, said, "Students do not give up their constitutional rights when they enroll at Harvard or any other campus for that matter." Along with the support from the National Panhellenic Conference, these sorority women were also supported by all 26 sorority members of the National Panhellenic Conference. And so this just helps give more validity to the argument, and this is why it's important. Should this happen on our college campus, should this happen at Western Kentucky University or wherever you are, we need bigger governing bodies like the National Panhellenic Conference to be able to support us and to make sure that all is well. The National Panhellenic Conference has a history of fighting and advocating for its members, and we must protect that. So that's why it's so important to us that we are all educated on the National Panhellenic Conference. So Overall, the National Panhellenic Conference is more than just a governing body. It is an advocate for each and every Greek woman on each and every college and university campus across the nation and in Canada. It is important that we all know and understand the National Panhellenic Conference because as sorority women, the National Panhellenic Conference can change our lives and keep what we love so dearly intact. Thank you.